What is the U.S. going to do when it comes to Israel-Palestine? Well, right now they seem to be perfectly happy to sit and watch as the deaths mount and maybe on the side make a little bit of money. So let's talk about those different aspects of this. First of all, Secretary of State Antony Blinken expressed dismay at the escalating violence. He's very dismayed and said the United States was ready to, quote, lend support if the parties seek a ceasefire. Blinken came short of calling for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas or a statement at the United Nations Security Council. That is such an amazing paragraph by the Washington Post there. First of all, he's dismayed. Yes, he's devastated by the situation there. They're not calling for a ceasefire. They're saying if the parties seek a ceasefire, they'll support it. So if Israel decides to stop firing on Gaza, then they'll support that. Well, that's amazing. What's the, are they gonna oppose it? That means literally nothing. If the Israeli military decides to stop bombing Gaza, we won't oppose that. That's an amazing statement. And by the way, they're not pushing for a statement at the UN. What are you talking about? We spent all last week blocking statements condemning this action at the UN. That is the effect that the US had internationally in terms of the diplomatic battle that's being faced right now. And by the way, since the Secretary of State is saying we're just gonna wait and see what the Israeli government decides to do, well, here's what they've been saying recently. In a televised address, Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel's attacks were continuing at, quote, full force and would, quote, take time. Israel wants to levy a heavy price on the Hamas militant group, he said, flanked by his defense minister and political rival, Benny Gantz, in a show of unity, reminding us of the domestic political concerns that are underlying this entire thing. But they want to levy a heavy price on the Hamas militant group. The problem, though, is that price, the currency of it, is children and dead civilians, not mainly Hamas militants. Because when you fire on a building that has an office you say is occupied by Hamas, even if we lend you the goodwill to assume that that's correct without the evidence being provided to us, and they've said that it will not be, the entire building goes down. Those people die. The people in the area die or are displaced, and something like 42,000 Palestinians' family have already lost their homes. That's the price that is being levied. Hamas is going to regroup. They're gonna fire more missiles or more rockets in the future. That's what they do. But the civilians, those are the people that are currently paying the price, Francesca.
I mean, honestly, this is where we're seeing some of that status quo Joe, no, whatever. My brain is not working, but the status quo Joe nickname, there we go. I was like, yes. Nomenclature? What are we talking about?
It kind of fits.
But the status quo Joe, nickname is really fitting right now when it comes to the Middle East, which is sad because this is a guy who wants to get out and is supposedly getting out of Afghanistan. Yes, there's going to be a bunch of troops left over, but for all intents and purposes, we're leaving Afghanistan, right? Obama left Iraq. Like these were important steps to get the United States out of the Middle East. It seemed like Biden wanted to reshape what the US's role is. And a lot of his language has been about sort of, look, what are we doing there? We're not helping. And yet when it comes to Israel-Palestine and the idea that the United States does not have a role to play, or that they're gonna wait, or that they pray for a ceasefire, or that they hope, as Biden said, this will run its course, that it'll be over soon, which is just the most callous way to talk about human lives and Israel's decision to continue to bomb and kill them, to run its course, to be done. They'll be over with it. They'll form a government pretty soon and then it'll all be over. No, imagine if those 2,000 lives that were lost in 2014 were all Israeli. But the last thing I'll say is just that the ball is in the United States court. It is on them to put pressure on Israel, full stop. That is where you start to untangle this entire mess. And Obama, look, man, if Biden wants to continue Obama's legacy, that guy did put a little bit of space. Sure, a lot of it was toothless, but he condemned Israeli settlements. He, said that Netanyahu was a pain in his butt, like all those things.
He didn't do much about it, but yes, he did say
he didn't do much. He annoyed the hell out of Netanyahu, who came to speak in the United States of Congress without even telling the then president. But what I'm saying is, it is a sign that Biden is not serious about changing the United States' role in the Middle East. And to be honest, I think he's actually missing the mark when it comes to where the majority of people are in the United States and our role and what it should be.
I agree. I agree, and even where a lot of Democrats are, like there's 30 Senate Democrats calling for a ceasefire. That is not the same thing, by the way, as necessarily wholly embracing a fundamentally new approach to the issue of Israel and Palestine. But they at least are calling for a ceasefire, which the Secretary of State is not. And Biden, Axios has a headline: some insiders are starting to worry about him doing too much too fast, becoming hyper FDR. Basically, what are you talking about? He's talking about running its course. Running its course, as if this is like the Israeli military has a case of restless leg syndrome. You just got to deal with it for a few minutes. No, like they're killing people now. We're the U.S. We love getting involved in what's going on in other countries, and now we have an opportunity where potentially we can use our great influence, whether in terms of the military, our economy, soft power, all of that, to stop some civilian deaths. Because, like, I don't want us to hit 2,200 more civilian lives lost in this most recent conflict. It's already devastating, but it could be much worse in just a few weeks if we choose not to act. And that is what Biden is choosing, even though we have an insane amount of leverage. We provide billions of dollars of military aid basically for free. It's gratis. We don't need anything for it. We won't use that influence for literally anything. We'll just give you the money and then occasionally sell you some weapons and try to make some money. And that is continuing too, with the Biden administration just approving the sale of $735 million in precision guided weapons to Israel. Now, Congress does get involved in that. We'll see if the current situation affects that in any way. But right now, it's like, it's an amazing situation. He's like, they have a right to self-defense and it's just gonna run its course. And they're starting to run out of some of those JDAMs. Maybe we can sell them some more and make some more money as this runs its course. Part of the course is our contractors making bank off of the murder of civilians.
Yep. No, and I think that's important to remember every time, the Biden administration or anyone says, this is part of our, strategic goals in the region. What are those goals? Can you tell me what those goals are? Are they to displace Palestinian people? Is that the goal? Is the goal, sort of an occupied territory that is no more, that is just absent of the Palestinian people? Is it ethnic cleansing? Is it apartheid? What is your goal, right? Because the US has no goal. What's the goal? Why are you supporting Israel? What are we doing? Are you helping attack Iranian like so-called nuclear facilities to just sort of dust up with that country and like make us look bad? Because Israel's real good at doing that. Like what else are you doing? Are we working with Saudi Arabia to make sure that we do not enact any kind of consequences when they kill and maim and dismember a journalist? Cool. What is our goal? Truly and honestly, what happens? Right now, what happens if we just leave? What happens if we stop giving money to Israel? My guess is it gets better.
They've got a pretty fully functional domestic weapons production industry. I think that they would be okay at this point.
Great.
But we give money to fossil fuel companies; they're massively profitable. Some money is fine to give out, others not so much. And by the way, as of right now, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe this is a knee-jerk sort of dumb internet guy thing to say, but what would the difference be if it was still Trump? He would have said really annoying things, definitely. He would have said horrible things about Palestinians. But in terms of what the US government would be doing, what would the difference be? Right now, would there be any difference? We would block the UN from saying anything in the Security Council. We wouldn't pressure the Israeli government to stop, and we'd sell them weapons.
Yeah.
Would there be any difference? Literally, between the guy who's here to return the soul and heart of America to help heal versus Donald Trump? No, I don't think there would be any difference. Someone's suggesting Trump would deport Palestinians. Sure, there might be more hate crimes domestically as a result of insane Islamophobic and anti-Palestinian things that he would say. That's a good point. It can always be worse, I guess. But in terms of the situation in Gaza, I don't think it'd be that different.
No, you're totally 100% right. The reaction would be 100% the same, and somehow is. And oh my God, what is the Biden administration doing? The only thing I would disagree with, and what I think I would say, is that the moment that's led us here, for me, has very much been the violence in East Jerusalem, the displacement of Palestinian families, something that was ongoing before Trump was in office, obviously, and the contested, not even contested, but the aggression from Israel in East Jerusalem and to those residents there and those families. But the bombing of Al-Aqsa Mosque, the throwing flashbangs, the tear gas, that all to me says an emboldened Israel, emboldened by the brilliant work of babyface Kushner and Donald Trump, who had Israeli settlements named after him. Oh my God. So, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, I think definitely was a sign that like the U.S. is like A-OK with settler colonialism. And the fact that Biden hasn't moved it back, I know people say that doesn't matter. I think it matters. I'm sorry, I think it does matter. And so yes, you're totally right. Look, this happened in 2014, happened in 2009. The US has been in pretty much lockstep the entire time, but I do think it gets worse. It has gotten worse.
That's true, it has.
And we have an opportunity to potentially make it less worse.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.